The moment has arrived.
I pushed the button. It's going to work.
This is going to be scary good, man.
I'm sorry?
We're killing it. It's Maddie Levine with my good friend David Auken. Welcome to the Fight Banana Show.
The ruthless one, Elle Dawson.
Hey, guys.
Our girl, Gillian the Savage Robertson.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Welcome to the Fight Banana Show. 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern, only on Fight Bananas.
Happy Fight Banana Show day, guys. What's going on?
Hey, guys.
Just a normal Tuesday. No technical difficulties at all. You know.
Fine.
On Tuesdays, we hang out, and I love it. And thank you, as always, for joining the Fight Banana Show with your squad, Dave Van Auken, Elle Dawson, Maddie Levine here. We have so much to get to, guys, so I'm not going to take too long. I do want to start by, I was just scrolling on Instagram, and a little ad popped up for that new Roadhouse movie with, Conor McGregor, Post Malone's in it. Please tell me, Dave, you know who Post Malone is.
Dude, I love me some Post Malone.
Thank God. They should have been selling this. They should have been selling this. Where's my camera? Way more. This is dope.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm in.
This makes you want to see the movie.
I'm watching it.
Anyway, welcome in. Welcome back to the Fight Banana Show. How we feeling, guys? What's going on?
Dude, I haven't slept in 2 days. I had to get a third job after me losing my Super Bowl game. My kids haven't ate in 48 hours. I'm in horrible shape. They lost in overtime.
How about that kicker? Like, that poor dude is just sitting there on the bench at the end going, I lost us the Super Bowl.
Contemplating life.
You missed that extra point. Like, oh.
Dave, remind everybody what the bet was.
I don't remember. It was a lot of money. It was a lot. Like
$500, I think. $500, something like that.
Was it?
I got to work more hours. I'll work 85 hours this week. Dude. We have our T-ball draft tonight. Taylor and Emerson's first T-ball team. So, I'll just fit it in. That's another thing for me to do.
Maybe Dean will put you on a payment plan.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Maybe I'll work the show for him for free on March 2nd. How about that? How about Gamebred? I work for free.
Listen, don't say that too loud because he might take you up on that. Don't be doing that. But yeah, the Super Bowl was super great. I thought it was a really good game. Did I watch all of it? We'll get to that later. But we got plenty to cover, from the Super Bowl to funny headlines to Sean Strickland being Sean Strickland to a really very exciting pay-per-view this weekend. Did you guys catch UFC over the weekend? Hermanson versus Pfeiffer.
I did.
We both did. And if I could just lead this ship for a second, the fight all week long. Elle and Grant are, I would say, friends with Joe Pfeiffer. Is that fair? Elle, I'm not spoiling.
Good acquaintances.
Good acquaintances.
And he's a great dude.
All week long, Joe Pfeiffer was a big-time betting favorite. He was definitely the guy they built the show around, and he was supposed to win this fight. Let's just call it a spade a spade. I was even on Joe Pfeiffer all week. Saturday, I wake up, I'm like, nope, Jack Hermanson. Been in so many main events before. This is a big step up. If he doesn't knock out Jack Hermanson early, Jack Hermanson spoiled a lot of kind of rising tides for 5-7 years in the UFC. It hit me. I'm like, I got Jack Hermanson. I bet on Jack Hermanson that night. I called Elle and said, hey, Elle, Jack Hermanson's winning this fight. And you're like, really? I was like, Joe Pfeiffer's going to win the first round or two, dominate him, and then he will get through that. The veteranship and all that will come through. And that's literally exactly what happened. I don't nail a lot, but
I think those experience points matter.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a lot of fights like that coming up in those higher weight classes too. Like, we have Brendan Allen fighting Marvin Vettori is another great example of a dude who has just been in so many high-level fights, and then a young prospect who's kind of coming up the ranks. So I think it's interesting to see how these experience points are gonna, play out in these cards, especially this weekend too.
Yeah, I think that was a huge moment. Is it Pfeiffer or Pfeiffer?
Pfeiffer.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, we just let Dave do what he needs to do. I get it. But I thought it was a huge moment for Pfeiffer.
Anthony Jaquani.
Listen, we've moved on from that name, David.
Anthony Jaquani?
Anyway, I thought this was a huge learning curve for Piper. I think it was super necessary. I think it was everything that we kind of expected as fight fans. You know, we know that he can dominate 1.5 rounds, 2 rounds, but what about those championship rounds? And what I loved the most was he immediately knew what he did wrong, like in the cage. He was like, it was the leg. I just didn't know what to do with it. And to be able to reflect so quickly on that and not be, of course he was emotional, but to not be overly emotional and just be like, yeah, I couldn't figure out the front leg. He was attacking my front leg and I got to figure that out. Can we stop interviewing the losers though? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
I love it.
I
really?
like it. As long as it's not a knockout. They don't do that anymore,
Totally
which I 100% agree. If you're knocked out in a main event, no, you should not get, like, they shouldn't make you interview. But I personally, I think it's good. It makes the sport more real. Allows us to see more of the sport. And I think it humanizes these fighters even more, which is good. Like, they should be, like, we should get to see how they respond in adversity as well.
I mean, call me bitter, but I don't want to be interviewed after I lose. I want to be like, get that fucking microphone out of my face. Like,
and Maddie, you can say that too. I kind of like if actually a fighter does do that in the future, like that's raw, real emotion. I love it.
That's fair.
And I say this all the time, and people go back and forth with the podcast and think, remember there was a fighter last week that we will not name on Fight Bananas anymore that he's not happy with. He wants to be paid for interviews and shit like that. I can argue what people do outside the cage and in interviews and in podcasts and on the microphone is almost more important than what they do inside that cage. Like, just look at the biggest grossing fighters. Sean O'Malley is not Sean O'Malley because what he does inside the cage. He does good. He is a really good fighter, but he wouldn't have got that title shot if he didn't talk the way he talked or had his show and looked the way he looked and all that jazz. So it's like that time is gold. That time that Joe had with DC on a microphone, like not saying like, remember, like dude, Grant loves DC. Like, that's an awesome time to have it. Even in a loss, like Joe can elevate his status moving forward, even on a loss. And the thing that's, Maddie, you said it, and I said it to Elle afterwards. Literally the second word after the loss that Joe said was media. And I think it's that back to the point of, it was his first main event ever. He's only had 3 fights in the UFC as, and with everything. It's like, it's a total huge step up of time and effort. The lights are on you. You walk in the Apex, like every media member, every camera is on you. You can't just go underneath the radar anymore. It is a big step up that people have never done it before, have no idea. They think it's the same. It's not the same. It's not.
Way more interviews fight week for Grant's main event week than any other fight week he had before. It's a lot different.
I could see that. I think it was a huge learning curve for him. He's so easy to love. He's so easy to root for. I think, his story is so great and he's so open and honest about telling his story. It's easy to root for him for sure. But between that and then the Super Bowl the next day, I mean, it was a pretty fun weekend.
Yeah, it was.
Guys, that halftime show. Come on now.
It was awesome.
Come on now. Dave, please. Okay, good. I was like, Dave, for the love of God, please tell me you like Usher.
He brought out everybody.
Maddie Levine.
Everybody.
He did.
Yeah. And like, dude, Usher is my time. Like, Usher's my thing. I'm sorry. Doja Cat's from 2023. I'm sorry. Dude, I love Lisa Post Malone. Yeah, I love country music. Dude, I see Garth Brooks live. Come on, I've seen them all. Like, I don't know if that ages me, but like, Usher was awesome. Dude, I think we should have more halftime shows in a big UFC 300. We should have a big time musical act in UFC 300.
Dude, imagine a halftime show at a UFC event.
I would pass.
Let's think about it for a second. Let's envision it for a second. All right, like you get done with the prelims. You got that awkward time in between, like a bunch of promo
and Green
videos.
Day comes on.
That's the problem is the awkward time in between is short. Like, if it was like 30 minutes, I would understand. But like I want to watch fights. Like,
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel
No,
you.
I get that. I get that. But Usher absolutely crushed it. All of like everybody that I was talking to, we were all trying to guess the first song, and it just like wasn't. He just has so many songs that it was impossible. But loved it. Loved that he got married after. It was, it was great. Loved it.
Talking about great Miss Maddie Levine, our next guest coming in live right now, fighting on March 2nd in Orlando, Florida at the Kia Center for Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA. I can't wait for the whole event. We'll be working it, Maddie, you and I, all week long. This guy's an absolute stud. Let's bring on, never talked to him personally, so let's bring on TJ Brown.
Whoop, whoop.
what's up?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks
What's
for
up,
joining.
TJ? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Kind of in between sessions here. Just got done doing a few private lessons. About to kick off some training when we get done here.
Are you punching walls and poles bare knuckle now? Is that your training? Are you just punching wood, or what are you doing for this bare knuckle fight?
See, actually, I've been going downtown and picking fights with strangers and bums, to prepare my mind and body for the fight. So,
Love it.
I should be well prepared.
If I didn't know how nice you were, I might believe that, but there's no way for a chance I would believe that TJ Brown is fighting random strangers.
He's got to get those reps in, guys.
That's right.
I love it. So this is your first bare knuckle fight, correct?
Yeah, right.
What are the emotions like right now?
Dude, I'm super excited. Like, this has kind of been like I've always said my whole career, like I was going to do one. Like I wasn't going to finish my career without doing one. I've always thought like it's as real as it gets. You know what I mean? Like the bare knuckle is as real, and bare knuckle MMA is as real as it gets. So to be able to do it and make some money while doing it, man, I'm super excited. Now, if you ask any of my family members or anybody, they think I'm crazy as hell, but I'm super pumped. A lot of my training partners are super pumped. My coach is super excited, and yeah, I'm excited, man.
So no hesitation, no worries about, the beautiful hands, nothing like that?
Man, I have thought about my hand. I broke my hand 3 times now. But it's something I've kind of accepted, and at the end of the day, this is what I do. Like I'm a fighter. This is how I provide for my family. This is what I do. It's my livelihood. Like this is what I do. So I'm excited.
What was the phone call like? Did you get it? What did you feel about it? What would take us down that road of like, holy crap, yeah, we're doing this. Let's go.
Yeah, man. I think it come at the right time. I think the matchup's good. I think like Gamebred, they're really doing something that's exciting people. Like I couldn't tell you how many people that when I told the news that some of them were already going to the show in Orlando. And when I told them, they were super, super excited. I was on the card. So, man, I'm excited, dude. Like, I'm a fighter. Like, you watch my fights. Like, I come to fight. This is what I do. And, man, it's been good, man. Like, I won't lie. I've sit at home by myself a few times and just had to accept, like, this is what I'm doing, and this is one of them fights, like, I'm going to have to go to that place, like Elle said, like, I'm a nice person, but I have this thing inside of me, and I'm lucky I have the avenue of fighting to let it out, and I get to let that out, and I have to go to that place in this fight, and it's exciting, man. It's exciting.
You're always in exciting fights. Like I don't think I've ever seen a boring TJ Brown fight. So my question for you is with bare knuckle being so different and there's being such a big difference, do you fare like your style translates over? Because we always see you trying to finish fights. Do you feel like we're going to see that same style, or do you feel like you'll have to slow things down a little bit without the gloves?
To be honest, this is my first one. I can't tell you that I know for sure, but there is something inside of me that says I was made to do this. Like I was made to do this. This is my kind of fight. And I'm ready to see if that's true, but there's something internally in me that tells me I was put here to do this, and that and that my style of fighting is going to match well with this, so we're going to see March 2nd.
Let's go. Did you see, and I don't know why I have this with you, not the analogy, just the example of what Randy Costa did around 2 months ago for Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA. Very exciting fighter, close in weight class. Of course, was in the UFC, came down here and made a freaking statement. His name's got a ton of buzz from it. I know they want him back, and that might happen in the future. Have you seen that fight by Costa, or have you seen any Gamebred Bareknuckle fights or shows to date?
Yeah, so I had heard of that Randy Costa before because I went to Tulum Muay Thai and I was down there training and I took a Muay Thai fight down there and I'd heard about him there. He had trained there, I believe, and I'd heard about him and and I haven't seen that fight, but I'll tell you a fight I did watch that I was really enjoyed was Brandon Davis fought another guy. Brandon Davis, we fought on a few of the same cards, and dude, that was a good one, man. Like that's exciting. And then like the very first fight on that card, the guy like breaks his hand, guy busts his face open the first fight. I'm like, man, I'm in for it now, you know. So this is definitely exciting sport, dude.
I feel like you're always looking to finish, whether you're striking or you're grappling. I think you've got to be one of the guys with the most submission attempts per fight that I've seen personally. I feel like submissions are easier in bare knuckle because you don't have the gloves in the way. Do you feel like you're going to be falling more on your submission attacks or more on your striking in bare knuckle?
I'm not going to go in this fight forcing anything. I've thought about this, Elle. Like, I'm not going to be forcing anything, but I'm going to come there to fight, and I'm going to come there to put this guy away. I think I have the attributes to put him away, either striking or on the ground. But you're right. I've thought about this. Like, rear naked chokes are going to be way easier from what I'm thinking. Being able to hold grips are going to be way better without the glove. So I can't say I'm stuck on doing one or the other, but I am going to come forward, and I'm going to bring the fight.
I mean, your striking must be super sound right now because if you were spending time in Tulum, then you were taking some Thai fights, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I love following that family and the whole Tulum crew. Like, they're just good people. What was your experience like when you went there?
You hit it on the nail, man. Like the people down there, the culture, the community, it's beautiful, man. Like they're really absorb that team atmosphere. And man, just the lifestyle them guys get to live. They just go down there, they're training, go to the beach. Like it's a dream, man.
The ring
like
is literally on the beach. It looks like.
Yeah, their new one is actually on the beach, and but man, it's beautiful down there. I can't say enough about Eddie and his wife Brooke, the owners of the gym. Man, they really take care of the guys. They took care of me while I was down there. And dude, there are some absolute savages down there. Like, you know, you've got world-class guys like Magnus there, but also like, you know, they've got a lot of these young up-and-comers that are just hungry, man. Like hungry. You know, I've been in this game for like 10, 15 years now. And like, it was a good reminder. There's these young cats coming up trying to take your spot, take your soul, man. Like they're fighting for everything. And it really pushed me to become better.
I love that.
The main event of your card on the second, two absolute legends, Junior Dos Santos, Alan Belcher for the first Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA World Heavyweight Championship. After your fight and after your win, are you going to come out with a cold beverage and watch this main event? And are you is there someone that you might be rooting for, or you just want to see a good fight in that big main event?
You know, this is kind of cool. I wanted to share this. Like, Dos Santos was one of my favorite heavyweights, like growing up. Yeah. Like, I loved watching his boxing. Like, I absolutely loved it. And to share same card as him is almost like a dream, man. And Alan Belcher, dude, like everybody, like from around here, he's a big name. He's right down the road, you know. So that's going to be an absolute banger. Dude, like as far as sharing a beverage, like I'm actually like 8 months sober.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, dude.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's been huge, man. It's been something that's helped me personally. It's helped my relationship with my son. I'm actually accountable now, so that helps too. You know, so. But no, I won't have beverages, but I'll definitely be tuning in, man. What a fucking main card, dude. What a main card.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations on your sober journey. That's incredibly empowering. What, if you don't mind sharing, what was the moment for you that you said to yourself, I need to make a change?
Sure. I'm cool with going into a little detail, but basically, I pride my life on changing my life for my son, being this father that I never had. And it got to a point where I wasn't being that guy. And I was putting drinking and partying in front of my responsibilities. And some things happened. to where I realized, you know, it just hit me in the face. Like, dude, you're screwing up. Like, and I wasn't being a good coach. I wasn't being a good training partner. I wasn't being a good man. And I had to sit with that alone and accept where my life was going. And I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make a change first for my son. And then, like, through this process, started kind of loving myself a bit, you know? So, man, it's been huge and very difficult, man. But something I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure there's people out there that need to hear that message and will gravitate towards that message. And then after your fight, we can have some Sprites on the rocks and just cheers to that.
Let's go.
Let's go. I'm
Shirley
here for
Temple. My son loves a Shirley
That's
Temple.
what I'm saying.
You know,
Mine does too, actually.
I'll have a Shirley Temple with you because I don't
go.
drink either. So
Perfect.
you brought up your son Kyler. I've seen him in the gym with you before. I know he's been a part of the life since he was super little. How is he reacting to you transitioning over to bare knuckle? Is he excited? Maybe a little nervous? Are you going to bring him to the fight with you?
You know, that's a good question, Elle. What does he think? He knows I'm crazy. So he's kind of accepted that I'm doing it. so that's cool. But man, he's been around so long with this, Elle. He understands what I do. And this is how I provide. This is what allows me and him to go. Like, we went to Colorado last week, you know, and it allows me to do that. It allows us to go to Mexico. It allows him to go and do all this travel baseball he has to do, you know, and he understands that, you know. But I don't know if I'm going to bring him. He usually does come. He usually does come to all my fights, but I'm still kind of in the air on if I'm going to bring him or not.
It's a new environment for sure. And it's a little bit different from, you know, like fighting in the Apex, pretty quiet, you know, like that's going from that to this huge arena in this big event with a very different style of fighting. I can understand that being a little bit of a.
Yeah. And a different fan base. I will say that.
For sure. You know, he was actually in my corner for my Muay Thai fight in Mexico, which was so cool.
And how old is he?
Cool. I'm sorry.
How old is he?
12. He's 12.
Oh, that's
but
so
he was
great.
there, and like, dude, I remember like being in between the second and third round and looking over at him. I was like, man, I got to get my shit together. Like, he's watching. You know what I mean? Like, it was real. But I want to take him, but I'm just a bit skeptical on it. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and especially, you know, like, you got to be focused, man, right? So it's like anything to take away from that. It's like, all right, we got to put dad first for a second.
For sure, man. For sure. You know, he's been a huge motivator throughout my career. Like, honestly, a lot of what I do isn't so much for myself but for him. So he is a motivator. But if there is any kind of distraction as to how he's taking it, how he's feeling, you know, I don't want that. So you're right.
Of course, yeah.
Couple more, we'll let you go, TJ. I know you're super busy, man. A couple of weeks away. It's wild. Fight week is around the corner before you know it. I know fighters love having that date, March 2nd, permanent black marker, big circle around it. I know you don't want to think past it, but is there anything in the future? Do you know, if everything goes well in the second, you're like, oh, Gamebred Bareknuckle, you know, they great company to work for. There's some zeros at the end of that check. Would you want to go forward with them? Do you want to go back to Muay Thai? Do you have any kind of spring, summer, maybe plans in the works?
Sure. So it's first things first, man. March 2nd, I go out here and take this guy out. But dude, I could definitely see myself fighting for Gamebred more. You know, I'm going to experience it for the first time, really get a true feel for it. But it's definitely something I'm interested in, something I enjoy. And heck, they don't pay bad either. So that's good too. But we'll see. You know, another thing I've been thinking of is, you know, I've been offered a full-time coaching job, you know, that I'm really interested in. So that may be something I'll be working towards the end of the year. But first things first, man. I got to go out there and take this guy out March 2nd.
I love it. I love the pay. Yeah, the Gamebred handles us up pretty well over here. I like it. I ain't going to complain about that. Last thing for you, my man. Did you watch the Super Bowl? If you did, who were you rooting for? Was it all about Taylor Swift? What were you doing on Sunday night?
Dude, I played football. I played, and I went to a little D2 college here in Arkansas to play football. Things didn't quite work out, but I love football. I love football. Defensive back and running back.
Let's go.
Believe it or
TJ.
not, your boy used to run a 4.49 at one point in time.
Woo! TJ. All right,
But,
Christian McCaffrey, I see you.
Let's go. That boy can run. But actually, dude, it was a great game. First of all, like, dude, what a great game. What a great finish. I was actually put a little money on Kansas City. You know,
there you go.
Dave didn't.
I was super impressed by Mahomes, dude. Like he kind of his ability to get it back together at the end of that game was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, that's what winners do, and I was super impressed by that. But my son was telling me about the other quarterback. Apparently, he's got some good story, like he was last picked in the draft and this and that, and now he's in a Super Bowl. So. Heck, I put some money on Kansas City and we won, so it's a good day. Oh, you're putting your head down, man. What's up?
He lost a lot of money, TJ.
The man who signed the checks for you for Gamebred, him and I made a bet, you know, and maybe I had San Francisco. Maybe there's a couple zeros attached to it. I don't know, TJ. Well, after we'll talk more in Orlando, Florida, man. I'm not doing so well right now. I gotta dig ditches all week long to break even this week. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
It be that way sometime.
We'll get you a good parlay this week.
I know. Orlando, Florida, fight weeks around the corner. March 2nd, Gamebred Bareknuckle. Tickets are still on sale at Ticketmaster.com. You can watch the event absolutely free at the Gamebred Bareknuckle MMA YouTube channel. TJ, any last words, my man?
Man, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. Thank all the great training partners that's coming in this week. My coach, Rolly Delgado. Man, I'm going to go out there and represent Arkansas and get a dub, man. Thank you, guys.
That's awesome.
TJ, appreciate it. We'll see you soon, brother.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
See ya.
There's TJ Brown, downtown TJ Brown. Man, no birdie told me, hey, don't bet on the Niners. God dang.
It was me. I was the birdie.
Yeah, I think Elle told you that.
My brother did too. My brother, like, that day, he's like, wait, you're not doing this, are you? Like, he saw the clip. He's like, dude, you can't do this. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude.
I mean, you were so close. You were so close. You should.
I know. Going into halftime, it looked pretty good for you. Just coming out, not so good. Not so good.
Yeah. TJ, dude, he has a 12-year-old son just like me. We're gonna bond in Orlando, Florida. I
love
that.
That.
Disney World.
He's the best dude. He's the best guy. I love TJ, and his kid is one of the most polite children I've ever met.
Oh, that's sweet.
Very nice kid.
Oh, I like it.
He'll be easy to root for come Gamebred in March, so that'll be really fun. Moving ahead to this weekend, guys. I'm so excited for this card. UFC 298. Volk is back. Tapuria is back. And a long list of studs are back. Guys, how we feeling?
Oh, I feel great. Such a good card. The whole card is good.
Can't wait.
It's like back to back to back good. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't like, oh, we're just looking forward to the main event. Like, I can't wait to get to the main event. No, it's like the whole main card is going to be, knock on wood, very exciting. And
like Ian Gary's on the card and no one's talking about him. Usually, like, he is all the talk of fight week. Robert Whittaker versus Paul Acosta? Like, that fight's insane. Marab versus Henry Cejudo? Marab Davalishvili? And I absolutely nailed that last name.
Did Marab hire Cejudo's coach? That's what we need to know.
1000%.
Moicano posted about it. We posted about it. Now we're all talking.
Yeah, no, he definitely did.
Cejudo firing his coach on, like, live?
Yeah.
How bizarre was that? That was so weird.
No. L. Dude, it's all a game. This thing is all a game. You don't think he's like that was, hey, for one, he might be in literally Cejudo corner and this is just a whole game. Or two is, you know, maybe he was busy. There's no way he did it and it was real and they taped it on YouTube. No way.
Okay, so you're saying he didn't really fire him.
Yeah, like,
or
he didn't fire him.
Weird. He, like, doesn't have actual coaches in his corner is what I've heard. Like,
so here's my thing on Henry Cejudo, and I'm glad we're going down this route because the biggest question I have for Henry Cejudo is why does he feel the need to keep fighting? And I think it is all ego based at this point. It is not the love of the game. I really don't think it is. I think it's a matter of like, y'all still need to be talking about Triple C. So I'm going to make sure that I'm in that cage. Like, it doesn't feel like a hungry fighter. It feels very much like, hey, why am I not in the spotlight anymore? So I don't know. I've got this weird feeling about him. I don't know if this is going to be a great matchup for him. I'm not seeing the fire anymore.
I
I'll go
think that's
first, and I got one.
I think that's the facade. I think that's the Triple C character. Because like obviously we've talked to Cejudo. He has some really great stuff to say. He answered one of my like lifetime questions, which was really cool. But I think that's the character, is it's all about me being the center of attention. I think what it is I think he's a lifelong competitor. I don't think guys like Cejudo are happy unless they are in true competition. And that's why I think he won't ever be, I don't think he'll ever get to a Conor McGregor level where I don't think he actually cares about fighting and he's just doing it to be a part of it and get the paycheck. I think Henry Cejudo truly loves the competition. So that doesn't worry me. Is the matchup a good matchup for him? I don't know. We'll see. I think this is a tough fight for both guys, but I don't think he's slacking, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And he definitely strikes me as a guy who, like you said, like thrives on competition. And he's going to be one of those fighters that is like literally escorted out of the organization. Like he's not going to leave willingly, I don't think. Like he's going to leave kicking and screaming.
Maybe. A big part of what Henry Cejudo, I think, is doing in 2024 and 2023 and above, there's different booms in mixed martial arts, and I'm talking about money. 10 years ago, there was a boom, and then 5 years ago, there was like an ESPN boom of like fighter pay went up and like main event and main events and pay-per-views, all that. The new boom in 2023 and 2024, and you can check out almost every high-level, big-time MMA fighter. There's this podcast / YouTube / this boom. Izzy's got one. Jamal Hill's got one. Sean Strickland, out of all people, you would think this guy would never do it. He has one and just put it out. And I'm telling you guys, there is so much freaking money in these, like Henry Cejudo, to go on YouTube and do shows. One, YouTube's paying you money. You get sponsors paying you money. And to keep yourself sometimes not relevant, but to kind of get a boom into subscribers and that stuff. What's the best way to do it? You fight. Like you ask any female who does like the fighting and the, and OnlyFans on the side, their biggest week is fight week, or if they win and all that stuff. Like, and for a fighter, a male, there's no boom. Like Jamal Hill, let's just be honest, he's kind of out of the news and out of this. Like he puts out a show, he probably does great. If he's fighting Alex Pereira in the main event of UFC 301, that is a boom. Whenever he puts out content, I will be watching. I need to watch it to see what he's talking about for the main event. And that's just someone in the business. I'm telling you, these the smart ones, they're all getting YouTube shows, channels, things. It's all about relevance. It's all about being top dog, not just in the cage, but out of the cage as well. And, honestly, if you're making a YouTube channel now, you're behind the ball and you got some catching up to do.
I will say this too, as somebody who has experienced this, when your day job is going to the gym and playing with your friends, it is so, so hard to go back to working a 9 to 5 for somebody else. So the freedom to keep living this lifestyle, I think is huge for these athletes. And that's why we're all trying to build wealth and build streams of income right now that aren't fighting, because we know we have a really short time limit on how long we can fight and actually make money for it. So I see these fighters doing it and I get it. Like working for somebody sucks.
Yeah, Elle, that's a great point. Longevity, wealth, when like the fighting is no longer an option. Like there's no freaking way Sean Strickland is going to work at like a Wendy's drive-through after his little stint. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, can we see your application? Yes.
I
knock motherfuckers out all the time. Can you hire me? Thanks. Like that's
he had a busy weekend. Sean Strickland had a busy last weekend.
Crazy weekend. Nuts.
Oh my God.
I mean, we could go on and on about Sean Strickland, but do you want to keep talking about 298 before we talk about the lovely Sean Strickland?
Definitely.
You want to peel back the headlines, or you want to do the show stealer, Maddie? You're in charge. You're the boss.
Well, the show stealer is for UFC 3. Or yeah, it is this weekend. So why don't we skip to that real quick? Let's do our show stealer. All right, so the show stealer is the person that you think is going to win over the crowd, win the spotlight, steal the show, if you will, at UFC 298. There's plenty of studs on this card, but who do we think is going to walk away with stardom? Dave, who is your show stealer?
All right. I kind of went back and forth. We talked about this pre-post in our special meeting that we have for this show. And I was like, okay, cool. I like this question. I went back and forth. And then I got down to brass knucks. It's only one man. There's only one correct answer here. The guy that can steal the show at UFC 298 is in the main event. He is right now a little bit of an underdog. It might change. It's wild how close the odds are. He's the challenger. It's Ilia Topuria. Like this show, if Topuria does what I think he can do, and you ready? What I think he will do, he goes to superstardom. Like Topuria becomes one of those top 10, top 8 guys in the business, like a Sean O'Malley. I talked about it with Elle before we went on. His UFC run is so eerie to Conor McGregor. Look at the fights, look at the opponents, and look at like how kind of quickly he went there, the ascension. This is his 7th fight in the octagon, 6-0, ton of finishes. Is Volkanovski, he's in that 35. Like there's something about being 35 in the UFC, and he's fought a lot, not even just fought a lot, guys. Like he's fighting his last 7 fights, I believe, were all championship fights, 5 featherweight championship fights, 2 lightweight championship fights against Makhachev. The last time got knocked out for like the first time ever. Like, how can you come back from that? There's just a lot of like, I just got to see it. And Volkanovski proves me wrong. I have no doubt about it. I'll put that respect emoji up and be like, all right, Volkanovski, you got it. But I think Topuria is going to steal the show and become the new UFC featherweight championship of the world.
Woo! Hot take.
Hot take.
Elle?
All right. I went deeper into the card. I didn't want to give you too obvious of an answer. I wanted to find a guy that I feel like is being overlooked because this is such an amazing card. And it's funny because if you had asked me this question a few weeks ago, I would have said the guy that this guy replaced on the card, which was Ikram Aliskerov, I would have said he was the show stealer of the card. But now it is absolutely Roman Kopylov, who once again is another guy that nobody's talking about on this card. And honestly, not enough people talk about already just in general. The dude's been to 2 decisions, one in his pro debut, which he won, and 1 decision that he lost in the UFC. But man, like the dude is fireworks. Like the way he kicks, the way he boxes is so exciting. And he's got a perfect dance partner in Anthony Hernandez, who is just tough. Like he's a tough dude, and he is a good fighter, and he's skilled in his own right. I don't think he's going to have the tools to beat Roman Kopylov here, but man, like that's going to be a really huge moment for Roman Kopylov when he spinning back kicks Fluffy into
just gives you all the good shit. Just gives it all, puts it all on the line. I love that.
Like,
Great
just
picks.
go watch, do yourselves a favor and go watch a highlight reel of Roman Kopylov. When you hear his kicks land, like it hurts you.
Dude,
like,
I love that shit. I love that shit. Kicks are the best. Show stealing for me. I'm gonna go with Robert Whittaker for a couple reasons. Okay. He's coming off a loss from DDP. He's gonna be fired up. And he's just one of those fan favorites. Like when he fights, people get excited. He gives us the exciting fights. He never backs down. Like it's always going to be exciting. And he's going up against the heel. He's going up against somebody that I can't fucking stand. I don't know about you guys, but Paulo Costa, I'm done with you, bro. Like you're obnoxious. Nobody gives a fuck what your secret juice is. We don't care what you're sipping on. And I think if Robert Whittaker can get that knockout, people are going to go nuts because they're going to be excited for Whittaker, but they're also going to be excited to see Costa get finished. So that's my show stealer. I mean, all 3 of these are very, very good picks, I think.
I love it. I love it. And again, all 3 are great picks. And we didn't mention the Henry Cejudo Marab fight or Ian Gary. It is such a good card. That's why I cannot wait. Oh, I cannot wait Wednesday night for Ben and Bananas. Like I cannot wait to just like really get into it. Like, and there's a couple even prelims that we've not even been talked about. And then I feel like I can sit on this main event for 20 more minutes. Like this main event is one of those, it's a top 5, top 7 fights that the UFC can make. It's like a perfect timing. It's not too late for Volkanovski. It's not like way too early for Topuria. It just seems like it's like right. And we will find out. Like whoever wins will bump the other one. But I think it's such a good time in for this fight. It's perfect. It really is good.
I am glad you brought up Ian Gary, though, because I think he's one of those contenders that we need to just touch upon for a second because of the drastic change we have seen in this man for this fight camp. He went from being the loudest, most obnoxious opponent to almost radio silence for this entire pre-card moment. What do you think changed for him?
You want to go first?
I have an answer, but then I do want to go back to your question because it's kind of not the answer you're asking me, the question you're asking me. I just want to say sometimes that's not good. That whatever he was, for one, he was winning, right? He was, I think, 4-0, 5-0 in the UFC. So he was doing good in the UFC. Sometimes, like, don't mess with success. Don't mess with your mojo. If that's who you are, like, dude, go for it. If you are outspoken and you are, I don't want to say the word arrogant. If you're confident, like keep doing that. If that's who you are, go for it. And if you're the exact opposite, if you are the quiet assassin killer type, don't get all loud now in a big fight. I think it's weird that he is being so quiet, and I actually don't like it. Yeah. The press conference, we'll see. Like I think on the press conference and the weigh-ins and that, if he kind of gets loud, I would be more intrigued that he'll do good. But if he's quiet all week, dude, Jeff Neal is like one of those guys. Like if Jeff Neal on a good night can beat anyone in the world. Like if Ian Gary is not at 100 and Jeff Neal is, like Jeff Neal's he's gonna make him look funny. Like he's gonna like make him look bad. So I go back to your question now, Maddie. Like I just want Ian Gary to be Ian Gary. Good, bad, or indifferent. Just be fucking yourself. Just be yourself. I'm fine with it. But back to like it's weird. I don't know. Like I don't like. Is it good? Like, I don't know if him being quiet for this camp is a good thing.
I don't think it is. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that it's not so much, oh my gosh, he's quiet now, he's doing the opposite. I think it's proof that he is not prepared to put himself mentally out there again because he couldn't handle what he was getting earlier. And he's been booted from a couple different gyms now. So like he's not allowed to train at the place he was used to training at in UK. He doesn't train at Killcliff anymore, correct? So like now it's kind of this is too much to change for one camp for a guy like Jeff Neal who smashed Vicente Luque, who I think was going to beat Ian Gary. And I think Ian Gary knew that Vicente Luque was going to beat him on that night. I don't think he was sick. I think he knew that he was going to lose that fight and he was not in the right headspace. So I could be wrong, of course, but that's my theory. And I think it was the right call to pull out of that fight. I think if he had gotten smashed by Luque, I think he would have lost a lot of momentum. And if you're not, like, if there's a lot of reasons that fighters shouldn't fight necessarily, he clearly was not in the right headspace to fight. And I don't think he's necessarily fixed that problem because he's not putting himself out there. He's not willing to make himself the target. And so if he gets to media week, and then all of a sudden, that attention that he didn't want, that he's been avoiding, is being thrust upon him. And he has a really tough fight in a guy like Jeff Neal, who is really hard to put away and hits like an absolute truck. Landed some crazy good shots when he fought Shavkat. Like had some really good moments. And I would say that Ian Gary is a more hittable target than Shavkat. So this is a very tough fight for him to have all these question marks, like a new camp. And like you said, being a totally different person. I think it's bad.
Yeah. I've been viewing it in two lenses. You know, I do come from that like broadcasting social media background with my day job. So I view it from the behind the scenes side, but I also view it as a fan. So I'm curious on one hand, did him and his, team, his producers, his social media team, whatever, because he clearly has one. Did they say to him, hey, man, let's dial back. Let's let all of these nasty headlines die out. let your fight do the talking for a hot sec, and then we'll get back to creating your brand again. Because right now your brand is not really working out. So let's figure this out. Or did all of that terrible media truly get to him? And I think it may be a combination of both, right?
Yeah,
because like you said, Elle, he's got a lot of moving pieces. A lot of people are no longer drinking the Ian Gary juice, if you will.
Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid, thank you.
Kool-Aid.
And this might be like a rebranding of Ian Gary, but is that the best option? Like you said, Dave, because we had spoken to Joe Penafiel a long time ago about, because if you know the party, Joe Penafiel, he's a Orlando fighter. He fights for Gamebred. He is very vocal about, listen, I need to make my opponent feel like shit in order for me to feel confident. I know that about myself. I know that's how I need to operate, and that's how I operate. I'm usually friends with them after, but before, I need to hate them. And I feel like that's why Ian Gary does what he does. He needs to make his opponent feel lesser than for his own self-confidence. So to watch this change, I'm so curious for fight week and what comes next.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say about like Ian Gary and like you had some good points. You said a little bit of both. Like, I disagree in MMA that you need a rebranding if it's not going well or not being liked, because UFC 300, like the headliners everyone wants is literally Conor McGregor and John Jones. And if you've been around for 8 years of their last 8 years, they're like outside the cage, maybe inside both are at their peak, the greatest we've ever seen. Outside the cage, they're bad dudes. They do whatever the hell they want. They've done some really bad stuff outside the cage. And that's who we're like, I hate, like maybe not me personally, maybe you guys are, maybe I am. We're all craving a Conor McGregor main event for UFC 300. 100%. Like everyone's talking about that. Like if Ian Gary just kept on winning, and if he smashed Luque or smashed Jeff Neal, and if he fought Colby Covington and like just kept on doing his thing in this, it's not even a gimmick, because like I think this is a little bit who he is. I think that's why he leaves gym after gym. I think he just rubs people the wrong way, and that's fine. He's a good-looking, young, brass, athlete. He should be super confident and a little bit arrogant. And then the whole wife thing came out and all that stuff. Like, that's a part of everything. I think he should not back away from that. Like, just go all in. If that's who you are, just go all in. Just do it.
I do like that. Go ahead, Mel.
No, I think that's right. And I think he might be maybe struggling with this a little bit. And I was talking to somebody else, like there are fighters that are like hated kind of for no reason. Like they just like fans just don't like them. And then they get a big win. And they get like this nice influx of like positive feedback from the fan base. I think Ian Gary knows that it doesn't matter what he does to Jeff Neal. He's probably not going to get that. Like he's just in that place. Like Colby Covington right now, people just tune in to see him lose. Yeah. And Ian Gary might have to lean into that and just be that guy. And I don't know if he has it in him to do that. Cause I think it kind of hurt Colby Covington over time too. I think it like you lean into
changed
that
him.
So much, changed him 100%. And that might happen to Ian Gary too, but maybe he can be successful in that way.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see.
Yeah. Dave, to your point, to, refer to Conor McGregor and John Jones and that sort of thing. You gotta admit that there's levels to this shit though. Like we can't put Ian Gary on the same pedestal as Conor McGregor and John Jones, because the reason we fell in love with McGregor and Jones wasn't because of their shenanigans at first. It was because they were unreal athletes that right. And then they became shitheads, and then their loyal fans were like, yeah, but we still love them. It's Conor McGregor and John Jones. Ian Gary doesn't have that yet. He doesn't have the loyal fan base yet.
He hasn't done anything.
I do agree, but I think he was on that trajectory. I think he was on that way.
Yes.
Like, what he was doing in the cage was really good. For one, he was winning fights. I know he didn't stop Neil Magny. Dude, like, Neil Magny just upset Mike Malott. We love us some Mike Malott here in Fight Bananas. Mike Malott was, a hot prospect. Dude, I know he didn't finish Neil Magny. He made Neil Magny look bad. Like I think it was 30-26, 30-26, 30-27. Like he inside the octagon, like he's really, really good. Like he's probably, you ready for this one? He might be like in the octagon a little bit even underrated because he's so big outside of it.
That's fair.
So I get that. I do. I just think you know, sometimes when I remember Conor's run, I was there for it every single fight, every single second. The Dennis Seaver main event on ESPN on Fox. I was there watching it. Yes, I'm aging myself, girls. Yes. You know, I was there for Sugar Sean's run. Like Ian Gary was, to me, he's been on par with those guys. Like he was on that trajectory.
He was headed that way.
Yes, he was headed that way. He wasn't there yet, for sure.
He hadn't had his Conor McGregor versus Chad Mendes moment yet, but it was coming.
Yeah.
If he keeps winning fights, I think if he keeps winning everything outside the cage, he can do whatever he wants. He can even be hated more, but if he keeps winning, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Either way, guys, this card is going to be bonkers. And top to bottom, it's going to be so much fun. So this Saturday, UFC 298, it's going to be legit. I'm so excited. Unfortunately, I do have to bow out. My husband has his own podcast to get to, and we only have one gorgeous studio. So he has to take the reins and steal my studio. But the lovely Gillian the Savage Robertson is going to take my place. Unfortunately, I have to miss her this time. But oh, there she is. Wonderful. Hello.
We're losing a Levine and adding a Savage?
Done.
Okay.
Back in my fighting days, I was the Menace. So the Menace going to the Savage. Beautiful. I love it.
Trade it out real quick.
I love it. Have a great show, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Later, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie.
All right. What's up, G? How are you?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing good. Just finishing training, kind of getting back into it and feeling fat.
Me too, dude. Me too. I haven't seen you since your fight. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I
You look
appreciate
fantastic.
it. I appreciate it so much.
So we were just having a really good conversation. Probably was going to go on for 3 minutes. It went on for 15. Just it happens organically. We were talking a lot about Ian Gary and about, I guess, where we were at. Maybe I think Elle, you're kind of maybe on not on the side, but you were seeing where I was going with it. And I would love your inside of it. I just think a fighter should be who they are, regardless if it's quiet or if they're funny or if they're a badass, if they're a silent killer. If Ian Gary's super confident and a little bit over the top and just sometimes hated by the fans, still do who you are, especially when you're on a good winning streak. Like, especially when you're still like this. What do you think? Because Ian Gary's been totally quiet for this camp and been very quiet so far. We'll see in the next 24 and 48 hours. But a big fight with Jeff Neal. What is your take on what a fighter should do, or with their personality, or change, or go with what especially about Ian Gary?
Personality wise, I feel like it's always big to one, like you said, just be yourself, but be like a little bit more of like an outward version of yourself. I feel like those are really the people who, like you see, like the Conor McGregors, who he is so openly himself and so strongly himself, and no one talking shit is going to shut him up. You know, like Conor's going to be Conor regardless. So I really think that's the most important thing. And like you said, it's almost showing the other fighters like where you're at mentally. If they're going to talk a little shit and then you're going to take steps back, it's like, you got to stay the same, keep the same pace, you know?
For sure. There's like 3 things about, I know your teammate just got a fight announcement. I want to talk about that. Of course, more stuff on UFC 298, but I'm just going to peel this Band-Aid off right away, G. Who wins, Andrea Lee or Miranda Maverick at UFC 298?
Oh, I was just looking at that. Honestly, that's a very interesting. I feel like it will be like striker versus grappler, but they're kind of similar in like their spot in the division right now. You know, they're both very, I guess, well-rounded girls. I think it goes to the vet. I think Andrea does have it. Okay. But it's definitely a very close matchup. I think that one's hard to call.
I agree.
So you have Andrea Lee by split decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, that's probably a good bet.
And it really is. Like, check those odds. That's probably money. Oh, yes. I was going to say, I want to pick her brain so much about Topuria and Volkanovski, because me and Elle were on different sides of this fight. So I love it when we're on different sides. Such a good fight. G, this is like, the main event, 2 guys. I'm not saying Volkanovski by any means is going this way, but had one of the best runs in featherweight history. 2 L's in a row versus Makhachev, Topuria, young, very brass, undefeated in the UFC, going this way. Who do you have winning the main event, Topuria or Volkanovski?
Before I get into that, did you guys see the video of Volkanovski talking about his daughter talking about Makhachev?
No.
No.
I saw that the old man video because that was
the old man video
that
was so good.
Hilarious too.
So funny.
Volkanovski said his daughter was talking and she's like, oh no, what if somebody breaks in the house? And he's like, oh, nobody's going to break in. Don't worry, I'm the world champion. And she's like, well, what if Islam Makhachev breaks in?
That is horrible.
It's so funny.
Just
That's
getting
horrible.
burned by your own daughter.
That's awesome. I love that.
I don't know what I would say.
Going into the fight, it's a tough one. 3 rounds, I think it's a different fight versus a 5-round fight. I think that Topuria definitely would have had a better chance if it is 3 rounds. I feel like it's a very close fight, but going into championship rounds, I think Volk just has too much experience. And as Dawson says there, with that old man strength, I think Volk's gonna just be able to get it in the later rounds.
I'm on your side. I feel like this vet versus young prospect, just like we saw last week with Joe Pyfer and Jack Hermanson. I think Joe Pyfer might be a better fighter than Jack Hermanson. I think he's very skilled. He's definitely the more explosive guy. But man, those experience points are so valuable. And I'm kind of on your side here. I feel like the longer the fight goes on, the less it goes in Ilya's favor.
Oh yeah, and talking about that fight, I'm like, 9 times out of 10, I would have said Joe Pyfer won the Jack Hermanson fight. And it was just really experience that pulled it out. He weathered the storm early and was just able to do what a pro needed to do.
I brought this up to Dave earlier today too, and I wonder if you agree. I feel like it's the right call to put Ilya in this title shot right now, because otherwise, if we don't and they give him to a Max Holloway or an Arnold Allen, we might lose another contender in a division that is starving for contenders. So I think it's the right decision, but my hesitation comes from us not seeing a fight like that. I feel like we always see Ilya Topuria as this massive hammer, and we've never really got to see him in like a close fight. Like he obliterated Josh Emmett. And I would have liked to see a fight like against a Max Holloway where he has that really tough, close fight. Are you on the same page?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like he is getting the shot a little bit too early, but also like, where does the division go essentially? But I would have liked to see him against like a Max Holloway or something like that. But I think if you are going to be a champ, if you want to prove yourself as champ, then you should be able to beat the number 1, number 2, number 3 guy. So I think that it would have been nice to see that, but just where the division's at, we need another contender, and Topuria fits the spot.
100%.
We have a good question coming in with one of our cool guys, Mystic Black. But to go on that, and you said a perfect thing. I think it was Elle about the hammer. Sometimes I think it's great to have the unknown. Topuria only knows how to be the hammer. Like that's it. Like in a weird way, that is good.
Fair
sometimes. And dude,
he doesn't know how to lose.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Like he doesn't know. He's almost too young, and I don't want to say dumb, but I think everyone knows. They understand where I'm trying to get at. Like. I feel like he's going to walk pretty solidly. Dude, McGregor to Eddie Alvarez, he literally has his hands behind his back. You're so confident and you're such in a good mode. You have a good mojo. Yeah, you're going to get caught sooner or later and you're going to get knocked out. Anderson did that to Chris Weidman. It's going to happen. But right now, he's the fucking hammer. And I think that's so important. And I think he's going to be the hammer Saturday night when he wins the championship of the world. But all right, this is a good question, dude.
I was going to say, ignorance is bliss. You know,
yes.
That being said, maybe we see a different Volk coming out there now off of a Makhachev loss, off of being knocked out. You know, it's like who's to say what fighter we're going to see out of him too.
All right, they go, Gillian. Do you think UFC 299 is overly stacked and has too many main events on the undercard?
I don't think it's possible for an event to be overly stacked.
Okay.
I would definitely. The only way I would say that 299 is overly stacked is if this 300 main event doesn't live up to what I expect it to live up to. That's the only way, because I feel like 300 definitely deserves the spotlight. You know, it's the 300 of the event. And if 299 takes that shine, that's the only way I would agree that it's overly stacked.
What can the main event of 300 happen? And you'd be like, dude, it's not up to my standards. Like what could, like if it's Leon and Bilal, are we like super just disappointed about it? Like as a masses of fans of MMA people, are we like, dude, that's not the main event? Like, come on.
There's a couple ones out there that I've heard, and there's a couple ones that I've hoped for that are big names that I keep on getting denied. But yeah, there's definitely a lot out there that I just feel like don't have the star power. I think you really need like a Connor or a John or an Islam in that spot to really like have like the effect of being in a main event for 300. Besides one of those three, I don't really, well, and it's like the other two that I would say would be Volk and O'Malley, which are coming up next month and the month after. So those are the only people who I really think that can take that spot. So other than that, I'd be kind of disappointed.
No, I feel you. I think
I see
Dawson
that.
with the question for I want to go back to what Mystic said in a second. As someone who likes to get the finish, how do you prepare for when your opponent won't go down?
Well, the goal in all of this is to be mixed martial artists. So ideally, I want to be able to put them down on the feet. I'm working for that every day. But if it is a little bit trickier to get the takedown, then that's when I'm going to start faking my takedowns and coming up with strikes. So then we make our opponent think that we want the takedown and are able to do damage on the feet, then use the strikes to set up the takedown again. So just play with them back and forth.
I love it. Little story. I'm always through analogies with my point. Then hopefully I'll get to my point where Darnell was talking about how the UFC 299 being amazing. This card, dude, like, gee, we haven't talked about Marab and Cejudo, Whitaker and Costa's on this card. The main card is like one of the best main cards ever for this UFC 298. 299 is amazing. 300 is amazing. And me as a person, I like what the UFC is doing. And my analogy is there's a great ice cream place. I go pick up my kids at the daycare, and on the way home, halfway, there's this awesome ice cream place. I love it. The kids love it. And during the summer, when it's like summertime, like I would go once every other week, sometimes once a week, a couple weeks in a row. And then I'm like, I feel it. We're going too much. Like we're getting too much ice cream, if that makes sense. We're doing too much of this. And now in school I go like once a month, once every 2 months. And where my point is, I feel like if the UFC, I like when it's a massive card, at least once a month, like the pay-per-view, and we can't miss it. Guys, we as MMA fans or someone who loves the sport, who is in the sport, who covers the sport, you can't miss UFC 298. It's too good. And the fight nights to me are appetizers. Like there shouldn't be 7 fights on the card like we can't miss on a fight night. To me, it shouldn't. Like Hermanson and Joe Pfeiffer, that was good enough for me. Like I'm going to watch. And there was other fights, of course, on the card that we all had our little intake in. But I want the pay-per-views to be so stacked. And then the fight nights, give me a main event. Give me Moicano and Drew Dober. That hooked me in. I want to watch. And then the rest of the card can be okay. But every pay-per-view should be 4 or 5 cannot miss fights. Like I need top-end stuff. You guys agree or disagree?
Oh, yeah. Well, like looking back to the fight card that I was on, I'm like, who's going to buy this? And like there wasn't enough big names on that fight card. Like Sean Strickland was the main event, and then besides that, it was like there was some big names. There's the bantamweight title fight that didn't live up to the expectation for a lot of people, and it's just I'm like, why is that worth a pay-per-view? Essentially, like most of those fights would have been fine on a fight night card. Where, like you said, now we're excited for every single fight on the card. Every single fight's a big fight, and it's worth the $80 that everybody's gonna pay.
Right. One thing I love about this show so damn much, it's live, anything that can happen. We had such a good question from our guy, Mystic Black. He got a link and now he's coming on the show to talk about it. Maybe agree with us or disagree with us. So here we go. Mystic, my man, how are you?
How you doing, Big Dave? The red line is on, baby. What's up, Jillian?
What's up?
How you guys doing? I just have to say it. These fight nights cards have been absolute booty. Absolute booty. Terrible, terrible, terrible. They're putting nothing on these undercards. Even the main events have been absolutely terrible. But then you have, and I understand what you're saying, Jillian, about you can't have an overstacked card. But when you have that many fighters, you got to spread them out. You have to spread them out and kind of, give them that limelight. Yes, but put them on a card like the Dustin Poirier and Benoit Sejourné. That can be a main event of a fight night card, and then have somebody else on those undercards to keep building those guys, because it doesn't make sense as all these fighters are just drowning on these other cards and nobody knows who they are, and there's no spotlight because the main event brings no traction in.
I think that there's
I was gonna say they can say something, but Mystic, I think this is great. I love it because I really do disagree with it, because I love when the pay-per-views like coming up on UFC 298. It's the main event is amazing. The main event is one of the top 5 main events I think the UFC can put on. Then you got the co-main with Whitaker and Costa. I love that fight. I can't miss it. Then you have Cejudo and Merab. What a great fight. Probably the winner will fight for the championship. I love this fight. Then Ian Gary is a guy on the ascension. Jeff Neal, an underrated fighter who I think I'm going to literally pick Jeff Neal to win on Saturday. So good. Jeff Neal at 100% is almost unbeatable sometimes. I love when the pay-per-view. And then Elle has Romans on the card. Like, Krylov is so good. I love when the pay-per-views are like, boom, 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 like a WrestleMania type. You can't miss it, Mystic. You can't miss it. And then the fight nights, I agree that the last couple of weeks maybe hasn't been great, but I think I love when it's 1 or 2 fights that grabs you. You have to watch it. And the rest of the card might not be great, but I love when the pay-per-views are stacked. That's just my 2 cents.
No, for sure. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, how can we showcase all those guys who people don't know who they are? Dana has all these people coming off the Contender Series, but have you seen any Contender Series people fight in these last couple cards that are showcasing them? No, we don't remember because nobody's watching those cards. There's a main event coming up, and I think it's Jairzinho Rosenstruck against a guy who fought 1 time in the UFC, 1 time, and he was the first fight of a prelim. Who is he? Nobody knows who he is, and I understand UFC is a huge brand, and a lot of people are going to watch no matter what. But it's starting to take a little bit of a dip, and some people are not tuning into the fight nights and the Apex, and nobody even goes to the Apex anymore. There's like 20 people in there. They need to get out of the Apex. I'm sorry. I love the product, but they're getting a little lazy. I have to be very honest.
I agree with the Apex call. I would love to see some more fights. But here's my thing with, you're talking about all these Contender Series guys. That is the problem. That is the reason why some of these fight night undercards really suck. And it's because these guys that are getting signed off the Contender Series, when I know I'm going to say his name again, but when Grant Dawson was on the Contender Series, he was like 12-1 with all finishes. The guys on the Contender Series now are 3-4-0. They aren't ready. They aren't ready for the level that they're getting to. And so I think it's part of the reason we're having some of these guys pull out of fights because they're getting injured, or they're just not ready for these big moments, or they're just not quite UFC caliber yet. I think they need to sign less guys. Trust me, the roster is full. There are plenty of guys waiting for fights that are high level and are ready for those fights. And I actually think we have too many young guys getting signed too early.
My last point about the fight nights in the main event, and Grant, we talk about him a lot. We love Grant on our show. Also Gillian, right? Like, Grant just main evented a fight night 4 months ago, whatever. I would be awesome. Like, and I don't know if Gillian agrees or disagrees on this point, and I would love to take it away. I would love to see Gillian Robertson versus Angie Hill as a fight night main event. Like, they're not going to main event a pay-per-view just yet until Gillian fights for the championship and is the new championship of the world. But like, this is, Mystic, I totally get where you're coming from. I do get it. Sometimes it's too early for some of these main events. I get it. But right now in 2024 in the spring, Gillian's not main eventing UFC 300 or 301, but we can main event a fight night main event versus Angie Hill or Michelle Watterson. This could seriously happen in April or June. Maybe Gillian has some insight on that. I don't know.
Shit, I just want to know why this dude is main event after 1 fight, and I have 16 and still on the prelims. That's the real question here.
And with a lot of finishes, like, they like finishes, and you have the most finishes in what UFC MMA women's history, right?
Yes, yeah.
Why are you not on main cards? Like, you should be on main cards all the time if that's what they want. Come on now, UFC. What are we doing?
Exactly. Come on, UFC.
Gillian just took a woman's soul in her last fight. Like, I want to see that on a pay-per-view main card.
Hopefully one day, but until then, I'll just hope for that Angie Hill in main event. Hopefully coming up soon. Say 3-4 months, and we'll get that a fight night.
Let's go.
There we go. Darnell, dude, it's always great talking to you. Let's connect soon. There's a lot of Roman Reigns talk that we have to go through, and some other fight night stuff, my brother. Let's talk soon, all right?
I'm in, guys. Hey, pleasure for coming on, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. There we go. I love live shows. You never know. You never know. Keelan's been saying some really nice things about you, G. Congratulations. He goes, completely agree with Elle. So many of these guys aren't even close to the UFC. And by the way, G, congrats on the last fight. Like, yeah, I do. There are pros and cons for sure. And we went over like the fight night stuff, but like, I love stacked pay-per-views. Like, UFC 299 is amazing. UFC 300 is awesome. When we get the main event, the whole card is so good. I love it. It's like, guys, you can't miss this fight. And fight nights, let's elevate. It's, you know, it was cool that, you know, hopefully they're trying to get Joe Pyfer that win. Dude, G versus Angie or G versus Michelle fight poster. I like it. You got red in the background, the hair. You got Michelle doing a karate kick. Come on now.
Dave's designing the posters for the UFC now.
I was gonna say the red on the poster would just it has to happen. It's gonna be fire. So it's like, does the UFC marketing team know what they're doing?
I don't know. All right. Last thing. So we went through the Topuria fight. 2 fights I would love your take, and we'll run for today. Co-main event, Whitaker and Costa. Seems like everyone, I think you and I definitely talked about Robert Whitaker multiple times. Everyone loves Bobby Knuckles. Robert Whitaker, his last fight lost to DDP, who's now the champion. Does Whitaker come back and beat Costa, or is this the end of Robert Whitaker as we know it?
Side note, they both have hilarious social media accounts.
They do. Costa's pretty funny. He's funny.
Costa's hilarious. But yeah, I think it's honestly, I think I agree with whatever most of the people are saying. I think Bobby Knuckles comes out with it. I think Robert Whitaker is just the more well-rounded fighter, and I think that I don't know, Paulo Costa almost seems like a little bit one-sided sometimes. So I think that Whitaker just is definitely going to come out the victor.
I like that. And then probably maybe the fight of the night. I wish it was 5 rounds. It just feels like it should be a 5-round fight. Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili. Should be a lot of wrestling, a lot of grappling, but I know, and you know, you guys have been in it more than me. Usually, sometimes when it's awesome wrestlers, sometimes it's a striking fight for 15 minutes. I would love to see if they did stand up and strike for 15 minutes, how would it be? So what's your take on Cejudo Merab? We haven't really talked about this fight that much.
I think this is going to be like, you know, like the little Spider-Man meme, with them both pointing at each other.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So good. I got to make that. We got to make that now at Fight Bananas.
They're both so similar. Like, they both are very good wrestlers, both very good at mixing their striking and their wrestling together, which I feel like is very uncommon in MMA. A lot of times you see a good wrestler and they don't really know how to mix it into their striking. But these two won't commit to a strike, won't commit to a shot, will come up with strikes, and are both very well versed at that. I think we are going to see them kind of stick to their games more. I don't think we're going to see necessarily a striking battle, but gosh, picking a winner in this one, I think, is the hardest one. I think that it's a very close matchup with these two.
Oh, how about you?
They're the same guy. No, I agree. Exactly. Like, they're very similar styles. I think that Merab's cage wrestling is a little higher level, and I think that Cejudo's open mat wrestling is a little bit higher level. So I think that if Merab can pressure and get Cejudo against the cage, like, I think he can probably keep him there for most of the fight and chew up a lot of clock. If Cejudo takes Merab down open mat, like, can he hold him there? Like, I feel like it's just going to be an epic 15-minute scramble.
I love it. I love it. G, where can you get some really fire merch at? Where do you have to go?
You know, if you head over to Gillian-Robertson.com, you get the Who Wants the Smoke collection. I'd say it's pretty fire. I'd say it's high fashion.
I do concur. I think we should do, I'm doing it right now. So Fight Bananas and Gillian Robertson, we're going to do a giveaway. We're going to go on the site right now. We're going to buy a t-shirt, and I'll wait to buy the t-shirt until we see who wins. Let's do something. Let's pick 3 fights out of UFC 298. The person we'll put it on our socials. You have to get the fights right. You know, we'll maybe do the main event. Maybe, what do you guys think? The main event, Merab and Cejudo and Costa Whitaker. Is that the 3 fights?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, we'll do those 3 fights. If you get that, you get the winners right, and maybe we'll do like by decision on one of them, or like by how. If one person does it or more, we'll pick, and then what size you are, we'll go to Gillian-Robertson.com, buy a shirt, and then send it to the winner. There you go.
Ooh. Oh no, I think that sounds dope.
There we go. So there we go. We're just, what is it? It's Tuesday afternoon, just coming up with lightning ideas like that. Look at that. Lightning. So there we go. We'll do a giveaway. We'll make a post. It was that pen, G. It was, I'm writing so well nowadays on that beautiful pen you got me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Elle Dawson, Gillian Robertson. Anything else, guys? Anything we want to push? Any
No, I think that's it.
Thing.
Wednesday night, I don't know if you talked to Grant about this. We're supposed to be doing a live show. I got Rafael Esparza to come on because it's a pay-per-view. We love Rafael. He's so pumped.
Him.
He goes, are we doing a live show on Valentine's night? I go, dude, yeah, we got kids. Our Valentine's during the day. I was like, I got to ask Elle. Yeah, there you go. So
I don't
we'll
think
talk
we're
off
doing
there.
anything. We have nothing planned. Our massage therapist usually comes on Wednesday evenings, so we'll probably get massages and
Hey, have strawberries, at the end of the table, the strawberries, having a massage.
Well, they're not fun massages. They're like, I'm crying and trying not to kick my massage therapist massages.
You can just use your imagination for Valentine's Day.
It'll be fine. I honestly didn't even think about that. I don't think we have plans.
All right. Well, talk to Grant first. We make sure I'm not ruining any Valentine's Day plans to Fight Bananas. But tomorrow night, we might be going live for Ben and Bananas to go through it. Gillian the Savage Robertson. Hopefully you have a great Valentine's Day tomorrow, and we'll talk to you real soon. Next week, we'll talk about how Ilia Topuria won the UFC Featherweight Championship.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right. We'll see everyone next week. I'm trying to push the button. My computer's awful right now. I'm trying.